don't have anything to watch. That's not true. I have things to watch. I have things I should be doing. I just don't want to do it. Never get just the intense feeling of boredom. So much so that you think it might be depression. Because right now, there are things I could do. I could do my homework. I could work on this drawing that I'm doing currently. I could watch The Pit. What's another thing I could watch? YouTube. There's loads of shit I could be catching up on. But there is nothing I want to do more than sit in my bed on my phone. Which sucks, because everything I see on my phone is just like horrible. And I hate every bit of it. Like, I don't want to do anything else. And like, reading would be perfect, except I finished all the books I wanted to read. There's a video idea. Okay, here we go. I've figured out what I'm gonna do with myself. Oh my god. All right. Let me introduce you to the newest book that I've read. Okay, that's the cover. That's the back. If you have read this book, good job. Who haven't read this book? It's called Wings of Starlight. It's more or less Tinkerbell fan fiction, which, don't we all love fan fiction? It's pretty good. I was always a big fan of Tinkerbell. I'm a big fan of any plot where the main character or characters are tiny. Tinkerbell, Ariete, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids 2. What's another one? Thumbelina. Fuck with that too. Really just anything where I can be small, tiny, live in the forest, and just be cutesy and like hang out with little animals and creatures, and preferably have magical powers. But if I don't have magical powers, I will live. Part of the appeal is like making do with little things on the floor of nature. I read this book because I finished A Court of Thorns and Roses because my friend made me read it, which I thought that was good. I've recently got a lot of stuff on my TikTok that's like, oh, this book sucks. This series actually kind of sucks now that I'm reading it as an adult. I don't read a lot. I read when I'm bored so that I'm not on my phone. I thought it was fine. There were certainly parts of it where I was like, this seems a little weird. But like, I feel that way about literally everything. So I will say, overall, it's a really good book. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed reading it. I thought it was a little slow at parts. Then again, I don't have an insane connection to these characters like I did to Tinkerbell and her friends. So like, and the romance, I thought was going to be more heavy of a plot, and it really wasn't. It was like a side plot. And at least the things I've seen about this book are very romance heavy. And I fear the romance was a side plot, which is fine. It can be a side plot. I love reading fantasy books where the romance is like a side plot, but it's like well thought out and whatnot. This, however, I was fully expecting to be a romance. It's got its own plot. Which if you want that, hell yeah, read the book. If you are reading that expecting it to be some only romance, it's not what it is. Another thing about this book is it's kind of slow. Now that might be because when I was reading it kind of at the tail end of my boredom and I had things I needed to start doing, so I was feeling less bored, so I was less inclined to read it. I think it was also my expectations going into it, expecting it to be romance, and then it wasn't entirely a romance. I also think there are definitely parts of it that were a little slow moving, and there were definitely scenes where I was like, I don't get the importance of this. I don't get how it adds to the plot. I don't get how it builds connections with the characters. Because there are certain parts with the side characters involved that I think are maybe thought out more than they need to be. Which, whatever. I'm not one to, like, heavily diss a book. This was really good, and you know what? It stopped me from going on my phone when I was bored. Did its job. Yeah. If you've watched the Tinkerbell movies and you really loved them, I'd say read this. I think you'll enjoy it. It leans more on a storyline than it does relationships with the characters. At least when I was reading it. But I still do think it's good. And I mean, I am one person. I don't really even read that much. So if you kind of think to yourself, I think I want to read that, you should read it. You should read it anyway, no matter what people say on the internet, because you never know until you read it. And you may read it and think, holy fuck, I just wasted my time. But you read a book, Or maybe you'll read it and this will be your new favorite fucking book ever. Hallelujah, congratulations. Once again, I am bored. I needed something to do. That's why I am reviewing this very barely. But yeah, I really, 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 really like the cover art though. So we're gonna get one more shot of the front and the back because I think it's lovely. But yeah, that's my video.